Hello and welcome to another tech tip by VMNerd. Our tech topic for today is how to configure a captive portal inside of a PFSense firewall. As part of this configuration, we will leverage the local account database inside of PFSense for authentication, and we will also show, or at least demo, what it means to use a voucher system in place of the local account database. And with that, let's get started. Okay guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start our video out like we normally do with a drawing to depict what it is that we're actually doing and what the current landscape or architecture looks like. Okay. Alright, let me zoom this in a little bit. Makes it easier to do in a lot of things. Okay, so we're going to start out with, here's our PFSense firewall. Okay. And our PFSense firewall will actually have more than 3 interfaces, but for the purposes of this drawing, we will only show 3, as that's what we're going to be demonstrating. Okay. So this one here will actually go out to the internet. Okay. Okay. We're using the internet. We are actually using a VPN service. So if you see some of our previous videos on how to set up a VPN with PFSense, I encourage you to check them out. This will just show how we connect to the internet. Okay. Now, on the internal interfaces, we actually have one interface, which we will label as management. So this will be we'll have a management machine, which is where we're currently doing our drawing from. So this is our management box. He's going to connect to a management interface because as we're configuring the captive portal, the last thing we want to do is lock out the machine that we're currently doing the administration with. Otherwise, we'll have to do some pretty tricky things to get back into it. Okay. And then the next thing we will do is connect over to, at some point through the videos, we will connect over to our guest machine, or in this case we labeled it as guest 01, and he will be connecting out our guest interface. Okay. Now from an IP perspective, the guest network zone is 172.16.80.0/24 with a gateway of .254. That'll be the DNS and everything else for this particular network. And then, of course, the management network is 192.168.254.0/24. Okay. Okay, so now that we have our drawing depicted here and you can kind of see what the architecture layout looks like, we can go ahead and get configuring. So our gateway management interface is 192.168.254.254. So let's go ahead and do that. And while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and click over to the guest machine. So if you look right here, it says guest. He's in the 172.16.80 network. He can currently, as a guest, access the internet, just like everyone else. Okay. Just so that way you can see that it does work, that there's no issues or anything like that going on. And if you've noticed, at least the URL I'm connecting to, if you look, it's actually HTTP, and I'll explain why in a little while. Okay, so let's go ahead and log into our PFSense box. 254. Okay, so we get the standard PFSense untrusted cert. And technically you can get rid of that. Okay, so the label for this guy here is gateway.lab.vmnerd.com. And the first thing we need to do before we get started, let's go ahead and configure our certificates. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and import the CA certificate. Now, for this demonstration, I actually went out and got a real certificate that we're going to use for this demonstration. And a lot of that is because I don't really like seeing those ugly, read the explanation points. And not only that, it's a good opportunity for you guys to see how you install an SSL, a real SSL certificate on a PFSense box. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and click Add under the CA section. So when you usually get your certificate from your provider, they'll typically give you a certificate, and then they'll also give you a CA certificate. And some of them actually will give you more, but the place where I got mine, they embed it all into one single certificate. So it makes things easier. Okay, so go ahead and click Add. And this is a StartCom CA. And we'll just paste the data from the certificate. So StartCom CA. And click Save. And that's what it'll say, an external certificate. Everything's trusted legitimately, so we're good there. Now let's go ahead and click on the Certificates tab, and we're going to go ahead and import an existing certificate. This guy's name is portal.lab.vmnerd.com, and the certificate data is as follows. So the first thing I want to do is let's go ahead and just do the key really quick. So we'll paste that in, and then close that out. And now we'll go ahead and import the cert. Let's see, paste, go ahead and click Save, and there you go. Had no problems. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get started with configuring our captive portal. Okay, so I told you before we have a guest network, we have a management network, we have an internet network, and the VPN interface is really just a routing interface, which is how we route our traffic through the VPN tunnel. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on Captive Portal, click Add, and for this zone name, we'll go ahead and call this Guest. You can put whatever you want, but I'm not going to put anything, so click Save, and we're going to go ahead and enable Captive Portal. We're going to enable it on the Guest network, and if you actually were going to do this on multiple interfaces for whatever reason, you can just hold Control and select whatever interfaces you need, I believe. I've never actually tried to do more than one, but technically I suppose that would work. Hard timeouts, usually a good idea to have some sort of a timeout that would force some sort of authentication. So let's go ahead and calculate some realistic times here. So for this, we'll say 8 hours is a reasonable time frame. So times 60 minutes gives us 480 minutes for a hard timeout. And then for idle timeout, you can do 60 minutes. Really up to you how you want to handle it. And if you also wanted to control the number of connections, this would be a way to do that. Let's see. Password credits. These, believe it or not, these pop-out windows, while they're there, most browsers actually block them, but you can enable them if you'd like. Let's see. These are here if people are actually going to log in, and you want them to automatically be added to the bypass table, like the Mac bypass table for this. It's an option to put it in there so they'd log in one time, or actually, depending on what and how you're configuring your screens or whatever, you can actually just get it to accept the Mac. Like there could be an instance where you just want to display a page, like a disclaimer page or something. You can always just click here, and then it'll just allow it through the table. Okay, and here's a place where you can control user bandwidth. So for at least this demonstration, we're not going to enable that at all. And for authentication, we're going to go ahead and use local user, and it says Vouchers. So we'll go ahead and allow only users. So we'll have to create a user with this captive portal login privilege set. So we'll go ahead and do that before we test it. And here's our login information, or our HTTPS configuration. So for the name of the server, we're going to go ahead and call it portal.lab.vmnerd.com. And for the SSL cert, this is the one that we just imported, so we'll go ahead and use that one. You can disable this, but it might make life easier if you didn't. And for now, we're not going to change any of this stuff. PFSense actually has one built in that we can use. Not really fancy, but it's definitely something that can be used. So go ahead and click Save. Now, we did define this URL, this portal.lab.vmnerd.com. Now, our clients actually don't know how to resolve that right now because this is a lab environment. So what we need to do is we need to go into the DNS resolver section and actually add that in here. Okay, so just paste it and get rid of the portal part, put it up here. Okay, and then for IP address, we're going to do the 172.16.80.254. Okay, so go ahead and click Save, and we'll validate this before we move on, just to make sure. Okay, let's go to Interface, Guest, and the IP should be 80.250, which it is. Okay. Okay, so now with that being said, the captive portal is actually working. Now we need to create a user account. So let's go here to User Manager, create a user. For what we're doing, we will call him VMNerd with the password of VMNerd. Doesn't matter. You can get as elaborate as you want, but for this demonstration, we don't have to get elaborate. Click Save, and the next thing we need to do is actually go back and edit the user and actually grant that privilege that's required. So right here where it says effective privileges, we're going to go ahead and click Add. And this is where we're going to select the user services captive portal login. Scroll down to the bottom and click Save. And if you wanted to actually add more than just that, you could. You just hold Control and select whatever it is you need. But if you look back here to effective privileges, it shows that. And I believe you can actually create a group and do the same thing. So haven't really done that, but technically I suppose you could. All right, let's go ahead and do some tests. Okay, so from our guest machine, I talked about the homepage being msn.com, and I'll explain here in just a minute why. So if you look right here, it forces us directly into this HTTPS page with a trusted certificate from our Starcom authority issued to portal.lab.vmnerd.com. So if you look at the chain path, it's all there. Okay, everything looked like it went good. It redirected as it was supposed to. And for illustration, we'll go ahead and log in. So VMNerd, and then password is VMNerd. Let's go ahead and click Continue. And there it is. We are in. No problem. Now, this is where things get a little interesting. So we can go to Google, do all those things that we're normally familiar with. So let's go back to our status page, click on Captive Portal, and let's see what we see. So we see here username VMNerd is logged in with this IP address and MAC address. Okay, now in theory, within 8 hours, he will be kicked out. Okay, but we're not going to wait that long. We're going to kick him out sooner. Okay. So one of the big things about Captive Portal that people don't realize, and I've read a lot of blogs and articles about this, about how people complain that people are getting HTTPS errors. And a lot of those errors actually come from the browsers, and I'll explain and show you what I'm talking about. So right here, if you look here, we were able to successfully go to our lab, no problem, and that's because I set the home page to a standard HTTP site. Okay, so let's go here. Oh, no, that's not it. Where is it at? It's right here somewhere. There it is. So right here, it's HTTP. Okay, let's go ahead and take this out, and let's put HTTPS, and we'll send it to Google. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and click OK. Okay, let's go ahead and click the button again, and this time I'm expecting an Ssl error. Okay, there's nothing you can do about this either. Okay, see, this is so Google actually uses HSTS, which is I can't remember the exact term, but it's basically like pinning the certificate to the actual web servers. And because this certificate doesn't match even with the common name, the browser doesn't like what it sees. Okay, and therefore says that it thinks that it's attack or something of that nature. And they don't want you to click next because they think that you might be in the process of getting compromised. Okay, so it's a security feature inside the browsers. Okay, and Google is doing this. I think Microsoft will actually allow you through, but let's find out. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch the home page to HTTPS. And unfortunately, there isn't much people can do about this. And it doesn't matter whether you have a trusted certificate or not. You should always get that error. Now it looks like Microsoft is actually going to allow me through. Okay, and it does redirect you like you're supposed to, but let's face it. I mean, everybody uses different browsers. Everybody has their own set default home pages and whatnot that they have. So unfortunately, Captive Portal doesn't have a mechanism or a way, at least as of yet, to get through this or to allow the initial communication which the browser was seeking. So the browser would reach out to whatever the home page is that it's trying to get to. In our case here, it's google.com. Now the Google Chrome browser says, I don't trust that certificate that's coming through, and matter of fact, I don't know nothing about it, so you could be in the process of getting compromised, or it just doesn't look right. So unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about that except for when people complain, you can always tell them to type in a unsecure site. So in this case, we'll type msn.com, and then it'll redirect you to your portal page. Okay, then from there they can actually log in. Okay, give it a second here while it thinks. Yeah, man, you can do it. Sometimes I don't have a lot of patience. I guess you can always click and it goes faster and things work great. Now, this is a virtualized environment, so we're not going to get the same kind of response as we would on a typical LAN. Okay, so now that we went ahead and went through that, let's go ahead and kick this user out. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn off basic authentication, and we're going to go with voucher-based authentication. Okay, or you can use a combination. It's really up to you. So just take away, set that to no authentication. Click Save. Now the next step is to go to the Vouchers tab. Go ahead and enable Vouchers. And we'll leave the default error messages. You can kind of customize them however you see fit. And click Save. And then let's go ahead and generate some vouchers. Now the nice thing about PFSense is it already does a lot of this stuff for you. And if things don't look right or you're not really comfortable with what's already there, just go ahead and click New Keys. And it switches all that stuff for you. So go ahead and click Save. And from here, we'll go ahead and add a voucher role. Now, the cool thing is you can make up pretty much whatever you want. So in our instance here, we're going to use voucher 1. Actually, we'll do 100. And then how many minutes per ticket? So how many minutes are these tickets good for? So if you're doing 8 hours a day, 60 minutes, you got 480 minutes like before. Then it asks how many you would like. So from here, you can go up to 1023. So you can do 1020, you can do 500, however you want. Click Save. And from here, that's good. Now, let's go ahead and download the voucher role or database or whatever you want to call it. So go ahead and show in folder, open this up. Open this in my wonderful Notepad++ tool. Let's close all this stuff out. And okay, so one last thing before you do it. Because of the fact that we're switching authentication types, it might be better just to go ahead and give the good old Captive Portal a restart. And that's what we'll do here. So we'll go ahead and restart that service. So that way it'll actually display the voucher tab on the bottom. So let's go ahead and open this up. Oh, I still got that configured for that. Switch that back to MSN. again, now that we have an understanding why, we'll just make our lives easier for demonstration purposes to use something we're familiar with. So let's go ahead and with what is working. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and do a refresh. Didn't do that. All right. Maybe I forgot a checkbox. So let's go back into Captive Portal, click Edit, and switch it to that then. Yeah, maybe it's voucher and or authentication. So let's try it without the auth. Let's see if it comes up. Otherwise, I'll have to restart the service. Yeah, okay, so the voucher code did come up. So let's go ahead and go back to our management machine, and let's go ahead and grab one of the vouchers that was in that text file, and we will paste it in here and just try and hit continue and see what happens. Okay, so go ahead and click continue. Yep, no problem. Let us right in. So it looks like that authentication piece. Let's go back here. Looks like authentication has to be set to this or this. So you can use either a voucher or a user ID. And we'll test that in just a moment. Okay, let's go ahead and go to Captive Portal. And if you look right here, the username is now the certificate name or the voucher name here, which is kind of cool. And if you wanted to check the active vouchers, how many minutes it's got left, when it expires, kind of neat. Okay, so go ahead and delete that. Should kick the user right out. So go ahead and click MSN again. News. There. Now we're back in our portal. And, let's just test this. Okay, I've already got it set up. So we'll try just the authentication without the voucher. So we can use either or. And it looks like it works. So, I guess that's how it works. You can use either or. You can either use vouchers or the actual user ID, which is kind of cool. I didn't actually know that. So, all right, let's go ahead and kick this person out. Just do some more testing here. So let's go ahead and see what we can do to get. So we look right here at the active voucher, okay, which is this guy. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and expire the voucher just for fun. Okay, expire. And then let's go ahead and log in. See, now it tells you the error message. This goes back to the area where you can set the messages to what you want. It's inside here. There you go. Right here, voucher expired. You can put whatever you want. The other thing too, if you wanted to actually customize the page, the login screen, you could. And all that information, the bare minimum to get any page going inside of your Captive Portal is this. So if you want, I'll show you what that looks like. Have some fun here a little bit. Just create a home. So index.html. Okay, let's go ahead and open that with this. Set the language to HTML. Paste. And let's go ahead and let's do a BR. So basically what this does is it forces all the text to the next, or anything below it to the next line. I'm sure it does other stuff too, but that's just what I understand it to be. And these right here are kind of hidden anyway, so they won't really be seen. So here we'll put username, password, voucher, ticket, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do a save. Let's go ahead and upload this page so we can see what that looks like. Desktop. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do a save. And let's make sure our user is kicked out. Let's go ahead and close that, open it up, MSN. there it is. Look at that. And just for fun, let's log in. So VMNerd, or we can use the voucher. Looks like it'll take either or. If you don't have patience, just click on it. Okay. So let's go ahead and see active users. There we go. Kick them out again. And let's go ahead and add an image. How about that? Let's have some fun here. You know, depending on how good your skills are when it comes to HTML or any of these web programming languages, you can get pretty creative. Okay, so I have an icon. I guess we can. Let's see. Let's just go download an image. Who cares? Actually, you know what? I got an idea. So ip.vmnerd.com. Let's just download this logo. How about that? Desktop. Okay, so now we have an actual image here. Let's shorten it up because I really don't want to type all that stuff out. Nerd. So let's go ahead and go back into our file here. And let's go ahead and do a img src equals. Let's do a border equals 0. This is just old school HTML. Now let's go ahead and upload. So if you're going to add some files to your thing here, there's a section up here that says File Manager, and you can go ahead and add your file in here. Go ahead and upload. And if you look right here, it actually relabels the name of the file to captiveportal/vmnerd.png. So we've got to go ahead and copy the name as is, and we'll paste it in here as is. Okay. Not sure if you have to put a slash or not, but we'll test that. Okay. Actually, let's edit this again. Yeah, I don't want this to break to a new line. And, you know, I mean, technically, guys, I mean, we can get as crafty as we want. If you know how to use like Bootstrap and stuff like that, you can get, you know, basically steal their sample code and then just replace the objects with what you need. Some of the JS files, you know, you may have to download in advance, or yeah, I guess you can always let it through your captive portal, and I'll show you guys how to do that next. So index.html, let's go ahead and upload that. It's the same one pretty much, just different, slightly different configuration. See, just like that. We now have a logo that goes along with our captive portal page, and you know, like I said, there's frameworks and stuff you can actually use that would allow you to modify this and make it as nice and neat as you want. Okay, so one last thing I want to show you, which is kind of neat. Inside of the captive portal itself, you can actually allow host names or IPs through. So for illustration purposes, we'll actually allow we'll allow google.com. You know, if people are going to make like the search engines their home pages, that might actually help get through some of those issues. So for this purpose here, see if you notice it let us right through. And if we type in msn.com, it actually will force us straight to the portal page. Okay, but we can actually get to Google. We could probably even do a search. So VMNerd. Okay. So if we go to the YouTube channel, actually will force us directly into our portal, which is kind of weird, you know. No, this is Microsoft, that's why. Let's go back to the other browser. I am curious now. Okay, so let's go to www.google.com. Okay, and let's go ahead and type in VMNerd. Okay, and let's click on YouTube. And yeah, so I think we're going to get the HSTS as well. Yeah, so this appears to be specific to Google. If we were to not use a Google service when hitting an HTTPS site, we might not get that error. But let's test HTTPS. Let's try yahoo.com. Yeah. Yeah, let's see if you look right here, you can actually proceed. So it's really specific to Google. It looks like the HSTS option, that information is actually embedded inside the browser. So when Google sends out updates and things, maybe that's some of the stuff that they add. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed our lesson on Captive Portal, how to install it inside your PFSense system. We did go through and show you a couple authentication mechanisms. So one being the local account database, another one being the voucher system. We did test by modifying the configuration slightly by uploading our own index HTML file for our Captive Portal screen to make it look neat. We did talk a little bit about the SSL component. Like I said before, a lot of people they do get that a little bit confused when it comes to trying to get to an HTTPS site and they're getting errors. So, and really what it is that, the SSL that's being displayed by your browser does not match the website that the browser is looking for. Have a great day. Hey guys, don't forget to check out our VMNerd YouTube channel for more tech tips.